My deportation scare was just the beginning. The show made me famous, yes, but it also painted a picture of me that wasn't entirely fair. Or perhaps it was part of me, amplified. The fights with Colt, the arguments with Debbie, they were real, of course. My passion, my quick temper, my desire for a perfect life, these were all authentic. But the nuances, the quiet moments, the genuine loneliness I felt in America, those were often lost. After 90-Day Fiancé, happily ever after, ended, and my tumultuous relationship with Colt was finally, irrevocably over, I felt a strange mix of relief and terror. Relief to be free from the constant conflict, terror of what came next. I was still living in Las Vegas, a city that felt both exciting and incredibly isolating. My immigration status was still precarious, hanging over my head like a guillotine. Then came the firing. TLC's decision to cut ties with me after my Cam Soda appearance felt like a betrayal. They had profited from my drama, my personality, and my willingness to share my life. And then, just like that, I was disposable. Who is against the queen will die, I had famously declared, and in that moment, it felt like TLC was against me. But I wasn't going to die. I was going to evolve. The initial days were hard. The online hate intensified, fueled by headlines of my departure from the franchise. People called me a gold digger, a green card hunter, a terrible person. It was hurtful, especially when I knew my intentions had always been about building a better life, not just for myself, but for my children back in Brazil. I missed them terribly, a constant ache in my heart that no amount of Las Vegas glitter could fill. But then, something shifted. The firing, ironically, opened new doors. I was no longer bound by TLC's strict rules about what I could and couldn't do. My social media following was massive, a testament to the fact that people were still invested in my story, whether they loved me or loved to hate me. It was time to take control of my own narrative, to become the true architect of my destiny. My focus turned to transformation, both inner and outer. I had always been open about my desire for plastic surgery. In Brazil, it's not seen with the same stigma as in some other cultures. It's a tool for enhancement, for confidence. For me, it was about aligning my external self with the fierce, powerful woman I felt I was becoming. My nose, my breasts, my abs, my glutes. Each procedure was a step towards a new me, a more confident Larissa. It wasn't about pleasing anyone else. It was about reclaiming my body and my image. The cost, which eventually climbed to over $72,000, was a testament to my dedication. People gasped at the numbers, but I saw it as an investment in myself, my brand. This physical transformation was intertwined with a deeper personal growth. I started working with a coach, not just for fitness, but for mindset. I learned to meditate, to visualize my success, to block out the negative noise. It wasn't easy. There were days I cried, days I wanted to give up, days the online bullying felt overwhelming. But then I would look in the mirror, see the changes, feel the strength, and remember my mantra: I am the queen of my own life. The biggest turning point came with OnlyFans. When I first considered it, there was hesitation, the stigma. But then I thought, why not? I was already being judged for everything else. Why not monetize my body, my image, my sensuality, on my own terms? It was liberating. It was empowering. I was in control. I set my own prices, created my own content, and built a direct connection with my fans, the ones who truly supported me, not just watched for the drama. The money started rolling in quickly, more than I had ever made in my life. It wasn't just about the financial freedom. It was about proving to myself and to everyone who doubted me that I was more than just a reality TV character. I was an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a woman who knew how to hustle and make her own way. I used the money to invest in myself, in my appearance, and most importantly, I started saving for my children's future. That was always the ultimate goal. My relationship with Eric, which started after Colt, was different. He was calm, supportive, and truly seemed to care for me beyond the spectacle. We had our ups and downs, like any couple, especially with the constant scrutiny of the public eye. But he was there through the surgeries, the recovery, the highs and lows of my new career. He saw the real Larissa, not just the one on TV. The arrests, though, continued to haunt me. The domestic violence charges, even after they were dismissed or reduced, left a stain. It was a dark period, fueled by stress, cultural misunderstandings, and explosive tempers on both sides. I regret those moments, the headlines they created, and the pain they caused. I've learned from them. I've learned about choosing my battles, about walking away, about finding healthier ways to express my emotions. It's a continuous process. Life in Las Vegas was a whirlwind. My social media became a full-time job. Every outfit, every photo shoot, every sponsored post was meticulously planned. I collaborated with other influencers, appeared on podcasts, and gave interviews where I tried to share my truth, not just the edited version. I wanted people to see that I was complex, driven, and resilient. One of the biggest lessons I learned was the power of forgiveness, not just forgiving others, but forgiving myself. For the mistakes I made, for the times I lashed out, for the moments I felt lost. It's easy to get caught up in the cycle of anger and resentment, especially when you're constantly being judged. But holding on to that only hurts you. I also learned to appreciate the smaller things. A quiet evening with Eric, a FaceTime call with my children, a successful new cosmetic procedure that made me feel more confident. The glitz and glamour of Vegas were intoxicating, but true happiness came from within, from a sense of purpose and self-acceptance. My journey on OnlyFans continued to flourish. It allowed me to dictate my own terms, to embrace my sexuality without shame, and to connect with an audience that appreciated me for who I was, not just for the drama. I started to understand the true meaning of "who is against the queen will die." It wasn't about literal death, but about the death of old narratives, old limitations, and old versions of myself. It was about rising above the negativity and creating my own empire. The transformation wasn't just physical or financial, it was mental and emotional. I became stronger, more resilient, and more focused than ever. I was no longer the naive woman who arrived in America, swept up in a whirlwind romance and reality TV chaos. I was Larissa Lima, a self-made woman, an entrepreneur, a mother, and yes, a queen in my own right. And anyone who was against that queen, well, they would simply watch me thrive.